Hi, and welcome to the Liquor Connoisseur. I'm Crystal.
I'm Roger.
Recently, we had the opportunity to go down to Hochatown, Oklahoma, near Broken Bow, close to Texas, and visit Hochatown Distillery, or Hochatown Distilling Company. We had a good time out there, and we got to interview one of the owners, Blue, and had a great talk about the history of spirits in Oklahoma. We talked about prohibition, of course, how Oklahoma was the last state to repeal it.
Man.
We talked about their different expressions, like this bottle and bond we're going to review after this first episode with Blue. And what didn't we talk about?
I just know we had a great time.
We did. They had some great shirts, too.
Oh, yeah. Great shirts, man. It was just
and we actually got a signed bottle of their bottle and bond.
Yeah, that's the one you'll see on the B-roll. But the one we're going to open is not that one. So we have it twice here. So
all right,
I had to get another one.
Hope you enjoyed part one of a two-part series with Blue and Hochatown Distilling Company. Hi, and welcome to the Liquor Connoisseur. I'm Crystal. Today we have a special episode. So Roger's behind the camera. And today we are at Hochatown Distilling Company in Hochatown, Oklahoma. We're southeast Oklahoma, close to the Arkansas border. Today we'll be interviewing Blue from Hochatown. He's one of the owners, distiller, everything.
A little bit of everything.
All right, so tell us a little bit about Hochatown, how you guys got started.
Well, Hochatown is an area here in southeast Oklahoma, and our family settled this area.
Oh, wow.
You know, just north a little bit up in the mountains in Batiste, but we settled this area. So I'll go back when Hochatown was, early memories go just when the lake had been built and Hochatown had been moved out here on the edge of town, you know, and it was a bait shop and it was that way for a long time. And it turned into, I guess with the coming into the internet, a tourist town with our park and all. And this started growing in tourism rapidly. And, I always had a dream and a passion of wanting to do a distillery since college. We actually, one of my labs had a distillation column in it, and it wasn't ethanol we were distilling, but it was a binary phase distillation. And I was like, oh yeah, that could be like liquor right there. And this area is known for liquor. If you go back in the history of this area.
So back to the bootleg moonshine days?
Bootleg and moonshine days. And what you got to understand is when this was formed in the Indian Territory and set aside in the 1820s, matter of fact, today is the 200th anniversary of the settling of Fort Towson, which was one of the two forts that was put in this area, the frontier, to start getting this region ready for settlement and the relocation and the Indian removal programs. Okay, and so today that's kind of a neat little piece of history that's going on there. It was the Indian Territory. This area was one of the first areas that was settled during that time, and the federal government put prohibition in place in this area. Pretty much now, what's the eastern half of Oklahoma?
Wow.
The federal government put prohibition in the area, and so there was no alcohol here. There was alcohol here. There's a lot of moonshine made here, and prohibition lasted up till statehood in 1907 and the state constitution of Oklahoma in 1909. But when it was adopted and ratified, they put in prohibition. And so Oklahoma was in prohibition during the time the country went in the 18th Amendment into prohibition, and then the 21st Amendment come out of prohibition. And Oklahoma was still in prohibition. Oklahoma was in prohibition until 1959, when it was repealed out of the Constitution by the voters.
Wow.
And it made it where you could start having higher proof liquor in the state. But to fill that need during that time, there was a lot of bootlegging and moonshining going on in the area. And this area had a lot of bootlegging. It was a long ways from Oklahoma City, and Arkansas didn't have jurisdiction, and Texas didn't. So it was outlaw country, and bootlegging started happening. And then when it became a state and started becoming settled, then fertile fields and cornfields and this whole region and a climate that's very favorable made just a perfect environment for making moonshine. at a federal trial in Muskogee.
That's where we're from.
Okay, at a federal trial in Muskogee, a federal agent testified that Southeast Oklahoma, in this region we're in right here, was the moonshine capital of Oklahoma. So kind of stuck for Hochatown. So back to the Hochatown part, when we started doing things with tourism and some of the family developing land and all, and I'd moved off, after there wasn't any work here after high school, and went in the military, and then went to college, worked, raised a family, but had a chance to come back home to work in the tourism industry, and started buying some properties and doing some things. Kind of started as a hobby, and then all of a sudden we just started seeing the need of what the potential of this region is for tourism. Mm-hmm. And it just come back to the point of every good place for tourism, especially that has moonshine as part of its heritage and culture, needs a distillery that can make a product like that. So talking with my brothers Mark and Mitch and my business partner Nathan Jewell, we just started talking about it and decided to have a meeting on it, and decided to start it. We'll start it small and see where it leads to. And just shortly after that, my brother Mitch, the company he worked for got bought out, and he had he was retired. Okay. But he wasn't ready to retire, so he come back home, and we started working on bourbon together. So Mitch and I were bourbon drinkers and like to drink bourbon, and he's a chemist, by the way. Had a career in chemistry, and I'm an engineer. So together we like bourbon, and we just started this process with Mark and Tater, and Mitch really led the project. I mean, he was, and I was acting kind of like a consultant with him, but we talked about it every day. We made it work. I was running the cabin company, and that was paying a lot of the bills, and we started making bourbon, and we just had a process of learning. We didn't intentionally go out to learn from someone else. We just watched and studied how it was doing, and started figuring out, hey, what kind of flavor profile do we want? What do we want to do? And at that time, and even as late as 2015, in what the area known as Indian Territory, Oklahoma, there had not been a distillery formed. So Hochatown Distilling is the first legal distillery in the area of Oklahoma, formerly known as Indian Territory.
Oh, wow.
So along with that, we made the first barrel of legal whiskey, in that region. And we bottled the first tax-paid liquor in that area, that was made locally. And so that happened in 15 is when we formed it. 16 we got licensed, and then in 19 we started producing, and then at 19 we released some bourbon. It was young bourbon. It was 2.5 years old, but we knew it would get better, but we needed to release something, and get something out. And we were seeing the climate here had a really nice effect on aging out. And then we just slowly migrated into all of our bourbons are 3 years old and 4 years old now. So we never went out and bought bourbon in the open market to redo that whole thing with. And it's not that we didn't think about it, but at the time, Oklahoma, when we started in Oklahoma, you actually couldn't even sample a product. Wow. Now they did get it changed where you could sample it, but Oklahoma still did not have the ability to sell the product you make. And Oklahoma was the 50th state. It was the last state remaining that didn't allow that. And Mitch and I started going to the Capitol, and we started, every year we would talk about it. And, the first years we went up there, we were just talking about what we were going to do and had started. And then the second year, and by the third year, and then by the time the fourth year come around, we started getting some product out. And so, and then by the time, 22 rolled around or so, we were getting some really nice product coming out. And it was Eddie Dempsey's a good friend of ours. He's a representative for this area. Oh, we go back to college and high school. Him and Mitch were fraternity brothers. He's been a big ambassador for us, right, and has helped. And we've developed relationships with our legislature. And when they come down, they stop in. But we were getting ready for a big push to make it become legal for a distillery to sell its own product, and with limitations and all, of course, and sell it for a drink, and then to sell it by the bottle. Oklahoma was the 50th state to allow that. So an interesting thing to note is that when the pandemic hit in 2020, we just kept making liquor, and the hand sanitizer thing was going on. So we thought, all right, we've got the licenses. Let's bring some ethanol in and let's denature it and make a label, and we did that, and we made some hand sanitizer. We didn't really when we got our hand sanitizer made, we took it around and donated it to all the organizations that wanted it. Fire department, any organization that wanted it, and anybody that wanted it, we donated it. And we spent $30,000 of our money out of pocket to get that. And for a young distillery, and there was a lot of things we could have bought with $30,000, equipment and things like that, but it needed to be done.
I think now people talk about the alcohol industry, how giving it is, despite how highly taxed it is and everything, all the regulations. There's so much that, everybody has a stigmatism sometimes about alcohol, but there's so much that good that comes from alcohol.
It's like anything. Responsible drinking is responsible drinking, and that's part of it. And we're making a product here that should be enjoyed in small amounts, but it's the way it tastes best, and it's to be experienced and enjoyed. If you want to drink alcohol for other reasons, then you probably want to go find a much cheaper. But yeah, that's kind of our view on it. And I've kind of had some concerns, coming to a pretty conservative area like this with it, but it's been well received by the community.
I encourage everyone to come down to Hochatown and come see what it is you guys are doing out here, because it's great.
Thank you.
The cabins are amazing. We're staying in one of those I believe you guys manage, and we're having a good time. So
it's a great area to visit. So you kind of see how this area draws a lot of people in. And Hochatown, we're 3 million visitors a year, and 75 to 80% of those are from Texas, and primarily that North Texas market. So it's a good place to get products in front of people. With like our distillery, we can get our brands in front of people, and they can experience it not just once, but they're coming back multiple times a year, and it's becoming just part of their stay is to come by here and get a bottle for their weekend and to enjoy, or get for presents, and we get a lot of people buying for gifts. One thing about bourbon hunters is, when you go to a new town, is there a local company around here that makes bourbon?
Yes.
So when we had the eclipse here a few weeks ago, we had people from all over in here, which is kind of unusual for people from that many places.
But you all were in totality?
Yes, we were in the zone of totality. Yes, and we all got to experience that here. And it was the first time I could understand why people kind of chase them down. It was pretty neat. But we had people from all over here, and they were all coming in and buying bourbon. They wanted local bourbon. So that's always a good way to get your product out to people, is when you have a lot of tourists cycling through your area.
That's really cool. So what states are you all in?
Currently, we're located we're distributed in Oklahoma. We are distributed in Arkansas. We are distributed in Texas, in North Texas, and we are distributed in Alaska.
Okay.
I know, that sounds weird, doesn't it?
Didn't see that one coming.
Well, just real. Why? Oldest brother Mark, he has a house there. He goes there in the summertime in a boat, and he spends his time out in Prince William Sound, salmon fishing and halibut fishing, and so we go out there every summer, and we like it out there. And when we were out there, we were like, and Mark owned the brewery at the time, Mountain Fork Brewing. And so we were like, we get our product distributed out here. So we just started talking to people, and went back, and through a process, it made it happen, and it's out there. Well, I need to go out there and work it and market a little bit, spend some time out there. I'm going to try and do that this year, maybe in September, go out there.
You're making this sound like a very awesome job.
I enjoy what I do. Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah. It's turned into sometimes a curse, but all in all, it is fun. And, we really started gaining a lot of momentum as a distillery. Our release with the process started with OSU last year.
Okay.
And that was kicking off. Well, let's go back just a little bit.
Okay.
All right, if you don't mind,
please.
And so we had developed the product and was mashing it. We were in COVID. We were getting ready to. The legislature was coming back into session, and we were going to push to get our bill. And they're trying to figure out what to do, and sanitizer's hard to come by. So we had Hochatown Distilling hand sanitizer, and it had our Spear Point logo on it that you see. There's some in here somewhere. I'll show you. And before session started, and the bill that we were going to run, it was set up so that we could make a donation to the Capitol. And we brought 2 pallets up and backed up there to the parking lot where the lieutenant governor's office is, and they had a forklift come out and pick it up. And so when we were up there working the bill, our hand sanitizer was in every office and every room up there. So that $30,000, by the way, was a marketing expense.
Yes.
Okay. We talked about. That's how I convinced Mitch. I said, Mitch, we got to do it. It's a marketing expense.
Sounds like it had a great return on investment.
So far it has, yes, because that was really the tipping point for us, because before then they could come in here, they could sample the product, but they couldn't buy it. So then we had to depend on getting them to go down to the liquor stores 4 miles away to buy them, because we were an unincorporated community at that time. And we were getting sales, but still you got to get them from there. And then we didn't get the benefit of reselling it to put the money back into the business.
Right.
And so, but we got the law changed that year, and then we were able to start selling the product and get that up and going. And we were also closing in on a milestone that Mitch and I, many milestones along the way. We worked this: the day you get your license, the day the still arrives, the day you get your still fired up, the day you make your first barrel, and just so many little milestones along the way. And one of the milestone markers that we were like, okay, when we can have a product that's in a small supply, but in a consistent supply of a bottled in bond bourbon.
Love a good bottled in bond bourbon.
And you and I know what a bottled in bond bourbon is, but a lot of people don't realize what a bottle in bond bourbon is. And people often ask me, why are you doing a bottle in bond 100 proof, because it's much better at higher proof. And I said, well, that's a matter of opinion, but bottle in bond, and it has a certain standard of identity that, that it has to be made at one distillery. It has to be aged in barns in bonded barns. It has to be aged a minimum of 4 years, and then it has to be 100 proof.
Yes.
And so you knew that when you had that standard there, it was a standard of quality. And it's the only bourbon label that requires the distilled spirits plan, or the DSP number, to be on the label. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do it, not only was because we enjoyed a bottle in bond bourbon, it's a 4-year-old, no age statement required, but was also that we made it in the world today. And we didn't really have them options even in 15 of buying other products and developing brands and all that, which is a good way to go. And if you don't have a product, but we didn't really have that ability. And we didn't have the ability to sell it. It's hard for get recognition from distributors that, it's tough to do it that way.
Right.
So we wanted to bring an original product of ours to the market and hope it was good. So that bottle and bond, one of the reasons we do that though is because people go, why do you do that? And I go, because we can.
I love it. That bottle and bond act, it was, like you said, it's for quality, because back in that time when it was passed, you didn't know what you were getting.
Oh, no. They were tobacco juice in them and prune juice, whatever. And, the way the system was set up then, the distribution system, where, you had your whiskey makers and then you had your jobbers, or the people that were buying the whiskey and then were selling it to the stores, so that jobber could do anything to your whiskey. So this beautiful whiskey that was made is watered down and toned, and so the person drinking it never got to experience the quality that was being
Right.
put in on the other end. And that's that's the reason why Colonel Taylor petitioned Congress for the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. And you know, reading in that literature, you could have a bottle and bond vodka if you took a
Yes.
barrel and
Yes.
wax lined it
Yes.
and stored vodka in it for 4 years.
Yes.
It would be a bottle and bond vodka.
That might have to be a goal of mine.
We've seen one of those. Like, that's weird. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you one of the interesting products that we make here, and well, I'm going to come back to that. All right.
Okay.
Well,
just a little bit on the bottle and bond. It has to be in a federally bonded warehouse, or like you said, barn house.
yes.
So
yes.
what is that process like?
Well, when you apply for your license, you have a diagram that you show, and then you have to keep that updated, you know, and it's when it's a federally bonded warehouse, that means when it's in bond, the product's in bond, its taxes are not due.
Okay.
So in a bonded premises means that you can move spirits around within that premises, and it doesn't get out of a bond, because that's when taxes become due on it, federal excise taxes and state excise taxes and all. So it's in bond. So that's what the bond means. In bond, you can move it around, and then we're required, you know, not only to have it locked and secured, but we're also required to have a second set of hasps so that federal agents could come in with locks and secure it up if they thought someone wanted to do that. Now, back in the old bottle and bond days, there were actually federal agents that would come out and open up the warehouse.
Okay.
So you would have the product that was made and captured in a whiskey safe, which was locked up. The distiller had the keys. That kept somebody from just coming by and filling their water jug out of it or whatever. And then the master distiller then had the keys to it, and so then it went from there into the warehouses, and then the agents, you know, would have to open it and close it, and that kept security and made sure. We don't do that now. We've got security systems that are in bond. You buy bonded insurance. You turn in your diagrams to the federal government, and that's just the way the business of whiskey is done, you know, in the United States now. So, but it is a federally bonded, licensed warehouse.
That's really cool, especially in Oklahoma, being so late to the alcohol industry. You know, I feel like we're making great strides in making up for that time loss.
Oklahoma was very late. You know, we went and talked about not till '59, and then it was in 2015 when that was. I remember when here in McCurtain County, where we are here now, you couldn't buy a mixed drink.
Oh.
And then that was changed. Maybe 92. I was young, but my 92, where they went with the liquor by the drink. You take your own bottle, and then they hand you back a bottle to take home with you that night. All right, that made a lot of sense.
So many fun facts in Oklahoma with alcohol. Hi, welcome back to the Liquor Connoisseur. We are back in the library. As you just saw part 1 with Blue and Hochatown Distilling Company, we talked a lot about their bottled and bond expression. It is the only bottled and bond expression made in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I'm glad we're finally, you know, making some ground here. So this is one I had my heart set on. I was like, I have to have the bottle and bond expression for, like you said, because it's the only one here. Yeah. So we have to make it happen. We're taking that trip out there. Nice long trip. It was good though. They made it well worth it. It was awesome. So
yeah, we had a great time learning about, as you all just learned, Oklahoma's history with spirits. How Hochatown was the moonshine capital of Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, as they say it, we all know how to make it. Like, we all know how to. Distilling is not the problem. Like they know, they have the best water.
Yes.
Apparently, you can see like all the way down to the bottom. So it's awesome. But
it was a great experience. Let's. Anything you want to note on the bottle?
It looks great. I just like the way it looks. It has that old school rustic feel to it. I mean, of course, bottle and bond. Yeah, this is what we're going to review today.
It makes it 100 proof.
Yep, 100 proof. So you know it's at least 4 years being bottled and bond. Let's see what
That's
we
probably
have
the most
here.
interesting fact is knowing there's a federally bonded warehouse in Oklahoma.
Here, yes, here. That's the key point. It's here in Oklahoma. Yeah, let's see. Hochatown Distilling Company was formed in the heart of Southeast Oklahoma with the goal of producing the finest quality spirits.
And it's so cool that they started with their own juice. They did not source.
Yeah.
They produced it and aged it themselves.
And as I understand it, they really didn't have the option. So they started early enough where there wasn't much help out there. Let me go ahead and wish me luck, guys.
Can you open this cork?
We're going to see. And this looks like one of the regular corks. Oh, I like their labels. I like these.
And I believe those are those hand labeled?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't really know. Maybe. All right. I'm going to say this for you guys.
I'm going to get out the way.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Didn't waste anything that time.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
on
synthetic
over
cork. Yeah, that will last me a while. I like that.
Can't break that.
Yeah, I've done so to quite a few of them already.
Oh, this color is rich.
Yeah, this is that
The legs are nice.
mahogany look to it.
Definitely took on that barrel.
Tasty.
In their barn house is what they call it.
Yeah.
It was fun touring that as well.
Oh, yeah.
The aromas that you get.
Soon as you walk in with all those barrels, it's just like, it just smells delicious.
Yes.
It's just like food in there. That's what it's just like really good. Like you're walking into a bakery of sorts, but it's just a whole bunch of spirits in there. Yep, there it is.
The corn off the top.
Yeah, and they're high on the corn. So what's
Yeah, I
this
believe
like?
about 80%.
80%, I believe, in the corn.
And we'll
Yeah,
learn
80,
more
10,
about
10.
what else they do with that 80%.
Yeah, we'll see.
So stay tuned. Oh, I just love the smell.
Yeah, this
All right. You
rich
ready?
on the caramel.
Cheers.
Cheers. Beautiful.
Tastes like it smells.
Yeah, you can get a really nice Oklahoma hug here. I know they talk about the Kentucky hug, but this is a nice Oklahoma hug. Very beautiful. Rich vanillas.
Yeah,
rich
that
caramel.
richness is coming through. Definitely has that caramel.
Yeah, I like this.
Has a lingering finish.
I'm going to go for my second sip because I've already had my nose, so I'm going
I guess we're here.
Yeah, you can sit back and enjoy this one for a while. And I'm going to have to pair that with a cigar. Yeah.
It has a little heat to it. But it's still very enjoyable, those flavors.
Yeah.
And this is around $100?
Yeah, right about that. I believe it's marked at 95, so yeah, $100. Yeah, that is actually what this type of stuff should be going for. When you do find it cheaper, that's great that you can find it like that. But anything bottle and bond is well worth it. Like that is like the step before whatever the best thing they should be making. Whoever they are, it doesn't matter what distillery you go to.
And when
Because to get here, it takes so much work.
And when we sat down with Blue after we filmed, we sat and drank some bottles of Bond, and we talked about the different ways you can try it: neat, a little water, or on ice. All right, so let us know if you've had Hochatown Distilling Company's Bottled and Bond. I would rate this as a intermediate.
Oh yeah, intermediate.
Stepping your way up, getting away from the Evan Williams on up to the Hochatown Distilling. So I put this in the middle to get your palate more familiar with quality.
Yeah, and it's a good step up from the 80 proofers. So this would be a really nice change for most of you. And coming in at 4 years, which is usually about a year longer than they would normally hold it. Typically your bourbons are aged about 3. That's usually about as much as they'll do it. But you're guaranteed at least 4 here because it's bottle and bond. And beautiful.
All right, well, stay tuned for episode 2, where we'll talk more about the different expressions at Hochatown, and have a surprise for you at the end of that one.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be great.
All right. As always, like, subscribe, and share.
Cheers.